So do y'all remember the 60 Minutes interview with Kamala Harris that Donald Trump accused of being edited? He went so far as to sue 60 Minutes. He said that was election interference. He said they were being dishonest with the American people. Even Joe Rogan did a big segment on how dishonest the whole thing was. And it turns out that was just a little minuscule edit compared to what we're going to talk about today here on the channel, because when Donald Trump sat down for his interview with NBC, and we did cover some of the clips on the channel, that interview was heavily edited on television, and the American people didn't hear the whole thing. But you won't hear MAGA get upset about this, and you'll never hear them say that the American people deserves to hear this entire interview. Folks, Donald Trump is going after the free press harder than any president ever has. He has been from day one, but he's doing so even more now. Right before I sat down to make this video, I saw a headline that said the Trump administration was considering pulling CBS's broadcasting license. So it's absolutely an attack on the First Amendment, and they're going to go after it even harder because they don't want a free press that's going to hold the president accountable. They want a megaphone for Donald Trump, and that's why he's always demonized anyone who challenged him, anyone who told the truth on him. He's always came down on them as fake news, and he even went so far as to say, I call them fake news to discredit them. He gave away a secret. He said, if they say something good about me, I say it's the best. I said they're the best network. If they say something bad, I say it's fake news to discredit them. And that's what he wants to do. He doesn't want a free press. He wants a megaphone. So we're probably going to see a whole lot more assaults on the First Amendment, and we're going to have to really stand strong. I'm going to read you this article here from MidasNews.com. This is by J.D. Wolf. But before I do, I just want to remind everybody, if you haven't already, be sure and hit that subscribe button. If you like the kind of content I do, it doesn't cost anything to do so. We have crossed over 700,000. We're headed for 8, and I do believe that we can hit 1 million before the year's over, so be sure and hit it. And I truly do appreciate y'all coming along on this crazy, wild, and bumpy ride with us, man. It's gonna get even crazier as we go. But let's take a look at what NBC did here. And I just want to say that this isn't journalism. This is an accomplice. This is how I truly feel about this one. But this article here was by J.D. Wolf from Midas Touch Network. What Trump said off air. NBC cuts reveal key claims on tariffs, Bezos, and recession. So in the full unedited version of Donald Trump's Meet the Press interview with Kristen Welker, released online by NBC but not aired in full during the broadcast, Trump made several striking remarks that were omitted from the televised segment. So a good chunk of the American people that only watches television completely missed out on this. So one such moment came when Trump claimed credit for getting Amazon founder Jeff Bezos to remove tariff impact prices from the platform. I asked him about it, and he said, I don't want to do that, and he took it off immediately, Trump said, calling Bezos a very nice guy and suggesting a friendly relationship between the two. The removal of such notices undermines public transparency by severing the direct link between rising consumer prices and Trump's tariff policies. And I want to point out how that Elon Musk is always talking about how transparent Doge is by posting their findings on the Doge website and on the platform that he owns. They claim to believe in transparency, but they don't want you to see how the prices were impacted by Trump's tariffs. Because if Bezos put that on there and you went to order something off Amazon and you went, wait, this is how high the price is going to be now because of the tariffs, then it would prove the point that Trump's tariffs does affect the consumer, that they're the ones that pays for it. It would completely blow the lid on Trump, and he doesn't want that. So what's he do? He calls Bezos, and Bezos, as always, caves and bows the knee. But keep going in this article. Other remarks that were cut from the interview that aired included Trump's insistence that the price of eggs were down 87% under his administration, citing White House Easter egg hunts as anecdotal proof. Despite Welker reminding him the price spike was caused amid a bird flu outbreak. So watch right here, folks. This is pretty ridiculous. But watch this exchange right here about the price of eggs.
People, it didn't matter what they made because they were losing their shirt because of costs. Now take a look at what happened. Oil is down, gasoline is down, groceries are down, eggs. You were the one that asked me. You asked me about eggs. It was the first week. I didn't even know anything about what were you talking about. Egg prices were so high you couldn't buy eggs. They didn't have any eggs. And they said Easter is going to be a disaster. Well, we had Easter at the White House, and we had thousands of eggs, and they were down 87%.
Yeah, a lot of that, of course, spike was because of bird flu. But When does it become the Trump economy?
Why do you say that?
Well, tell me,
we had the same bird flu as he had.
Have you ever noticed how here lately he says, why do you say that? Why can't you just say what I want you to say? Why are you saying that? Donald Trump cannot stand to have any pushback. And here's a billionaire talking about how he had plenty of eggs at the White House. But I know for a fact that the prices are still high because me and my family haven't bought them in a long time. And it's so funny how that so many people made cheaper eggs their entire identity leading up to the election. That's all they talked about. And now they're just crickets on it. But again, let's keep going with this because there's so much that the American people didn't really get to hear. So Trump also returned to debunked claims about the 2020 election, asserting that the results were rigged and insisting he won a lot of his court cases, despite losing the vast majority. So here he goes again with this horseshit.
You know, my 4 years were phenomenal, as you know, the stock market. In fact, even though we had to go through the COVID thing, that horrible situation with COVID, we did numbers, and when I gave it over, when I handed it over, the election was rigged, and because of that, we have a lot of problems, by the way. But when I handed it over, what happened? The market was higher than it was just previous to COVID coming in. Yeah. Nobody could believe it. The stock market I'm talking about.
I don't want to look back, but you did take your case to court about that.
Back.
You took your case to court about your allegations against the election. Let me ask you,
There's no question about it. The election was rigged. The facts are in, and it's still being litigated. Let's go.
You did take your case to court more than 60 times and didn't win those cases.
I won a lot of court cases.
Just to button that up, though, sir. Just to button that up.
What are you talking about?
How
the election
worried are you?
Are we talking about the election
Let's talk about here and now. Let's talk about
the
here and now.
election of 2020?
Let's not talk about. Let's talk about here and now.
See, I don't think this is one of those moments where, to me, they're an accomplice right here. This is one of my biggest pet peeves about the way that the mainstream media goes about this. They never really hold his feet to the fire. It's just like, okay, well, if you're going to say that, let's just move on to something else. Let's just agree to disagree. Let's go on. No. You took your cases to court. You lost. And yeah, you handed it over after you tried to overturn it after you sicked your followers on the Capitol on January 6th. Now, I know a lot of these people don't want the blow up and the blowback, and they're scared of being sued and scared of having their broadcast license stripped away. But something's got to give here, folks. We can't let this guy just sit here and spew this bullshit constantly and never push back on it. That's why more and more people are turning in and turning on to independent media, because we will call it out as such. We will call the insanity instead of just always, well, okay, we're going to have to agree to disagree. Let's just move on. Let's talk about something else. No, the 2020 election was not rigged. You lost. You didn't hand it over until you were absolutely had to. But if you'd got your way on January 6th, you'd still be sitting in there today. So, yeah, it's so frustrating. So he went on to suggest that China is eating the tariffs rather than the U.S. consumers or businesses. That is not reality. Folks, no, it's not. We live in the real world. They live in an alternate reality, and here's more proof of that.
But what people don't understand is, and this is a lot, the country eats the tariff.
No.
The company eats the tariff. And it's not passed along at all.
Well, some CEOs are saying they're going to have to pass it on. So how do you deal with those CEOs?
But the company,
how do you deal with those CEOs?
China is eating the tariffs right now.
What do you say to those CEOs who are saying we might have to pass this on to the consumer?
Well, they say that because maybe it's to their advantage to say it.
Will you punish them?
No, because you know what? I want them to build plants in the United States. That way they don't have any tariffs. See, tariffs will... And not
he won't.
Will.
Yeah, he's not going to punish them. He's never going to punish his billionaire buddies. They're not who's going to be punished. It's the base that voted for him blindly. That's who's going to end up eating it. And then Trump also downplayed recession concerns by saying anything can happen, demonstrating a nonchalant attitude toward a severe economic downturn. She asked, "Are you worried about a recession?" Trump said, "No." She said, "Do you think it could happen?" He says, "Anything could happen." But I thought he was supposed to fix it on day one. I thought the war in Ukraine should have been over while he was president-elect. He didn't follow through on any of this stuff, and that's why they should push harder against this. So these unaired statements raise questions about editorial choices in broadcast journalism, especially as Trump continues to air grievances about 60 Minutes for what he claims was an unfairly edited interview with Vice President Kamala Harris, while time constraints are common in televised interviews withholding full conversations, especially those containing controversial or revealing statements can fuel partisan claims of media bias. Now, you can read the full interviews as MSNBC ultimately did, releasing the full interviews as MSNBC ultimately did, could help restore public trust and offer a more complete view of political figures' positions. But folks, to everyone out there who went along with this dude and empowered this dude, they need to hear what it is that he's saying. And we have to come out stronger and hold his feet to the fire. If you sit there and you edit this stuff up and you chop it up and you just put stuff on there, I've made this argument so many times. People like us follow the news. We follow it every day. You consume this kind of content on a daily basis. That's why you're here. I do as well. When I'm not making my own content, I'm watching other political content. I'm a political junkie. So I'm always tuned into the news. I always know what's going on. There are a whole lot of people out there who aren't always tuned in, but they may come home from a long day's work. Yes, they're struggling. Yes, they're going through some hard times. They hit play on the TV. They see Trump talk, and they don't hear things like we just played. And they deserve to hear every bit of it, because if they heard every bit of it, more people would start turning on Trump. And to the mainstream media who is afraid and caving to this dude, you're empowering this dude and you're an accomplice. You have to continue to call it out, and we will always call it out here on this channel. The Midas Touch Network will always call it out. There are so many great creators out there who will not back down and will not be silenced or scared into being silent. So we're going to keep fighting the good fight. But this was a heavily edited interview, and the American people deserve to hear all of it. And notice just what a lost ball and high weeds he truly is. And the minute he gets cornered, he completely starts falling apart. That's why the Democrats have to stand strong right now and start pushing forward really hard. Because if they'll push forward on him right now he's at his weakest. He's coming in with such a low approval rating. Pounce on that. Bring the evidence, bring the facts, show the American people what he's all about, and show them how he did not keep his promises. And show him the clips that the mainstream media wouldn't put on television.